Hey, good evening, everybody. Looks like everything, mic and all working, so we're good. Let's get the disclaimers out of the way. We'll jump right into it. This is a weekly live broadcast. Those of you guys are here all the time. You always hear this probably, but anybody new, there's no topic planned out. I do my best to respond to every chat that comes in during the live broadcast itself. We'll just talk about whatever you want to talk about. Anything pretty much is fair game. The only things I ask is be polite. Keep it family friendly. Don't start cussing anybody, calling anybody names, being hateful. We can have a good friendly debate. That's no problem. We can have differences of opinion, still be friends. It doesn't matter what the topic is. Just like I said, be polite, be friendly. Or family friendly, I should say, and don't be hateful with anybody. And we're all good. All right, let's jump into it. We got Buck Reynolds here. Says hello to everyone. Hope all is well. Well, I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. A little tired tonight for some reason. I don't think I slept real well last night, but I'll make it through, I'm sure. Just if I'm a little bit off tonight, forgive me. We got Chester Hickman here. Good evening to you. Teresa Wiggins from West Virginia. Teresa Wiggins Gallery. Is gallery a name, or is that like you have a gallery and it's named after you, or that's one of your names? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that's kind of strange question to ask, I guess. But either way, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Don says, good evening from South Central Illinois. Good to see you, Don. Hopefully you're doing well. Verna's here. There was a third like. Thank you very much, Verna. I appreciate that. And let's see. We got Jam and Mike here. Good evening. Guadalupe says hello, Chris. Hello to you too. Good to see you. And Johnny Griffin. Good to see you as well. We got 20 people in here. I mean, just all of a sudden, boom, everybody joined. Cindy Rapp, good to see you. Teresa says, I did want to have a gallery. So your name is Teresa Wiggins, and you named it Teresa Wiggins Gallery because you wanted to have a gallery. It wasn't one of your names necessarily. Okay, it doesn't matter either way. I just wasn't sure. Let's see, where are we going with it? Okay, chat's kind of slow right off the bat. So I don't know, maybe story time. I don't ever have topics planned out, but I will tell you guys, I this morning went out to feed the animals, and of course it's dark out. It's 5:30 in the morning. I usually go out and feed. The sun's not up yet. Feed everything, collect eggs, and then go take a shower, get ready for work. So I go out 5:30 this morning, and I walk outside and go out to the quail or the rabbit hutch. That's where I go first, and turn the corner, and right underneath the rabbit hutch was a skunk digging up. I know he's been around because he's been digging like crazy and underneath the rabbit hutches, under the quail hutch, making a big mess. I mean, he throws everything out, so I have to walk all over it. I'm wearing muck boots in the morning, so I just kind of kick it back under as best I can. But either way, skunk sitting right under the rabbit hutch this morning digging. He didn't even know I was there. I mean, I have a big headlamp that I wear. I probably look ridiculous going out there with big long boots on, a headlamp and all that, but nobody's seeing me anyway. But so anyway, I kind of stepped back. I didn't want to get sprayed, so I stepped back a little bit and said, hey, get out of here, get out of here. And he kind of looked up, noticed me, and he meandered off, but he started going towards the fence, my backyard fence with the dog in it. And of course the dog heard him, so the dog got all excited. There's something out there, and he got to barking, and he got to moving I could hear him getting ready he was going to come over the fence. I got over there and got him calmed down before he did come through the fence or over it, because he could easily get over the fence. He just doesn't do it very often. Anyway, he was going to go over the fence. I got him calmed down. The skunk went on his way, so it was uneventful. But there for a minute, it was pretty exciting. Another thing, I don't know how to deter a skunk. I probably need to figure out a way to do that because, like I said, he's been causing a big mess, digging everything out from underneath the rabbit hutches and the quail hutches. I planted a persimmon tree over the weekend. They had a native plant sale. We bought a tree, planted it, which was a lot of work, actually. If you ever tried to plant a tree in Southwest Missouri, dig a hole that deep, yeah, it's a lot of work. But anyway, planted the tree, threw a bunch of rabbit manure in with it, and probably some black soldier fly larvae because I just scooped it out from underneath the rabbit hutches. And he came in the next day and just about dug that tree up. He dug a great big hole right next to it. I had to fill it in. So yeah, he's a huge pain. And eventually, I'm sure that my dog is going to get a hold of him, and he's going to get sprayed, and we're going to have to deal with that. So I got to figure out a way to try to run him off. I don't know how yet. Okay, let's jump in. We got some chats to kind of catch up on now. So we got Free Time says, Hi, all. Started my quail journey using your quail hutch design in Tennessee. Well, hopefully it works well for you. I've enjoyed it. I mean, it's worked. Well, I should say I enjoy it, but it's been very functional. It's worked really well for me. So hopefully it works really well for you too. And good luck on your quail journey. 340 Quail Farms here says, hey, everyone, Mount Dora, Florida, checking in. Be safe down there. I hear the hurricane's going to, I mean, the whole state of Florida is going to be flooded, right? I mean, they're making out like it's pretty bad. So hopefully you're, I don't know where Dora, Florida is exactly. Mount Dora, Florida. I should look that up on a map. Let's do that real quick. Dora, Florida. Let's see, where is that? Mount Dora, Florida is... Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're pretty much right in the zone. I mean, you're probably getting some pretty good storms going on right now, aren't you? So be safe, man. Hopefully everything goes okay. Sage Wolf says, hello, everyone, out and listening to you while walking for exercise. Well, awesome. I don't ever really walk for exercise, but hey, more power to you. Ed Got Bait says, hey, Chris, just dropped by to say hi. I can't pull myself away from the hurricane reports. Yeah, I was watching some of that on the news beforehand. I don't know if you've seen, this reminds me for some reason, the new, what is that company that does those commercials? Is it Prudential? It's one of the insurance companies, I think, where the guy is trying to help people that are turning into their parents. I don't know if you've seen these commercials. They're pretty clever. I'm not big on most commercials, but those make me laugh. But they've got the new one out where people are the guy's turning into their dads basically and talking about the weather, and it's you got to watch it. It's pretty funny actually. It just reminded me of that. Teresa Wiggins says, just started my quail journey too. Well, hey, you guys are in the right place. We've got I got a ton of videos on it. I mean, just about anything you want to know, look back through my archives. You'll find probably just about anything covered on there. That's why I have such a hard time coming up with content nowadays, because I've covered just about everything I can think of. Dawn says, I came on because I'm doing cold therapy for an hour. Yeah, Teresa says, what's cold therapy? Beat me to it. I'm kind of curious on that too. Dawn says, I had a PT that sent me off walk. Oh, I know what it is. I bet it's the cold compress. You have to put it on. The knee surgery. So it's a buddy of mine back in, this has been 25, 30 years ago almost. He had knee surgery, and he had to wear like this bag thing that goes on his leg and on like his knee, and pumps ice water basically through it to keep the swelling down. I'm betting that's what it is. So let's see. Dawn says, I had a PT that sent me off walking with a walker by myself for the first time in over a year today. It was awesome. Well, good. You're getting better then. Says, no one hanging on to me or following me with a wheelchair. Well, that's nice. Teresa says, nice, Dawn. I just recently came off my cane. Well, good. I mean, you guys are all making progress. I don't know that I've gotten any better. I haven't gotten any worse yet, so I'm doing okay. But Dawn says, to Teresa, that's awesome. Congratulations. I have a year to go before I find out about I find out, but I'm happy to just walk today. Yeah, I bet. Ed says, trap that skunk and have animal control relocating. Yeah, the only problem with trapping a skunk is you got to deal with a trapped skunk. I mean, that's the whole point, is I want to get him out of here without him spraying down the neighborhood and it smelling like skunk. But, there may not be an alternative. I don't know. I guess I could call an animal control like specialist or something and have them come out and trap them and deal with it, but it's still going to spray all over my back lot. Don says to Teresa, cold therapy is different than icing. It's a machine that pumps cold water through the tubes and through a sleeve you wear. You can sleep it for inflammation, swelling. Hey, there's Boris. Says, hello, Chris. Hello to you, Boris. Don says, trap a skunk, not me. Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I don't know that I really want to trap a skunk. I mean, that just seems like a nightmare waiting to happen. See, Ed says hurricane is a category 4, sustained winds at 130 mile per hour. May make category 5 by landfall. Category 5 is 157 miles per hour. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a pretty bad one. Verta says, another commercial. Well, maybe it was the one I was talking about, the becoming your dad and watching the weather and like, anyway, never mind, probably not. Sorry about that. Yeah, I got to run some ads every once in a while. I got to make a few dollars anyway, help pay for feed, and that's the only way you can do it. Lisa says, hopefully y'all are safe. Well, I'm in Missouri. I mean, there's no chance of the hurricane coming here, but we got I can't remember your name. 340 Quail Farm is down there in Florida, and I know we got a couple of other people in Florida. So, praying for you guys that you are all safe. Guadalupe says, I'm at work, but I find the conversation interesting, so I'll be listening in to I'm able to leave work in just a few more minutes. Well, hey, I appreciate you hanging out with us. You don't always have to. I mean, don't feel like you have to for my sake, but hey, I appreciate it. I'm glad you're finding it interesting. Teresa says, I wanted to start Coturnics, but I can't build a coop or aviary outside right now, so I bought some button quail to breed for pets. Now, nothing wrong with that. You do what you can. And you said maybe next year I can get some Coturnics. Yeah, you could do a lot of things with Coturnics quail. I know lots of people that do keep them inside in their house, but it's a lot of work to keep it clean, keep it cleaned up. So I don't know that that's the best idea, but it's doable if you wanted to. George says, playing on double speed to catch up. Can you eat skunk? Solves the problem. I mean, you can eat technically just about anything you want to. It's just a matter of, do you want to eat skunk? I don't know. Verna says, yes, skunk meat is edible and has been historically eaten by indigenous cultures. Some say it's a lean protein source with a good flavor, but it's also bony and not as well padded as rabbit. I imagine it would be lean. I mean, pretty much all wild game is a lean protein source, but yeah, again, I don't think I want to eat skunk. I just don't want to deal with the cleaning and all that kind of process. Now, I hear if you have them descended, they make great pets, but I'm not going to do that either. Teresa says, skunk tastes like chicken with extra spice. It could be. I don't know. George says, so like quail then, Verna. Yeah. Verna says, yeah, George, but you can use the fur as well. Yeah, you can make a skunk hat, like a raccoon tail hat thing, like a skunk tail hat. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it? I don't think I'm going to do that either. George says, I never thought of the fur. We don't have skunk here. Lucky you. Well, I don't know. I mean, the skunks aren't too bad. They don't come around all that often. I mean, just occasionally do I see one. This one's been hanging around for a couple of weeks. So, I mean, it's found a home, I guess. One of the neighborhood dogs is going to get, cat or something like that's going to get to it eventually. If it gets in the neighbor's yard, their dogs will bark at it like incessantly and corner it in a corner and just sit there and bark at it and bark at it and bark at it and bark at it. And I'll probably have to go over there with my pellet gun and put it down. That's what happened last time there was a skunk over there. They didn't kill it. They just sat there and barked at it and got sprayed over and over again. Not very smart dogs. If it gets in my yard, my dog will kill it and get sprayed. Not very smart either, but that's what he does. He kills small animals that come in the yard. Esther Swanson says, greetings from Mississippi. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Guadalupe says, I want to what? What do you want to do? I don't know what that means. I want to what? Square Body LT says, hey, from Albuquerque, International Balloon Fiesta starts in a week or so. I got a quail coop yesterday. I've been wanting for years. I can't wait to get some quail. Well, awesome. I don't know. I've never been to a balloon festival. They have one around here, not too far, but I've never gone. I hear it's pretty interesting, actually. But yeah, good. Congratulations on your quail coop. Cindy says, I tore down an old outhouse on Sunday. When I lifted the floor base to flip it over, there was a skunk under there. Never once did I smell skunk when pounding, pulling nails and screws, and didn't get sprayed. Yeah, they're not as bad about spraying as kind of people make it out. I mean, but you shoot one with a pellet gun, they definitely spray. I've been there. And then if you get them cornered or something like that, they would for sure. Teresa says, we don't have a garage to keep Coturnics in. Yeah, well, I don't keep mine in a garage. I keep mine outside. But yeah, I mean, if you had a garage, you could, I suppose. I've done it before. I have kept them in the garage before, and it is just, I don't like empty and dropping trays and, all that. So I moved them outside. Don says, I kept my Coturnics quail on a screened-in porch for 2 years. Yeah, it's doable. Lots of people do it. 340 Quail Farm says, thanks. Mostly rain today. Wind's starting to pick up now. Yeah, it's going to get worse, I'm afraid. So, hopefully not too bad for you. Ed says, we'll still be a Cat 2 in Albany, Georgia. Yeah, I saw the reports on it. It's going to move way up there. I mean, all the way, through Georgia. I mean, it looks like a pretty good one. Let's see. Verna says, skunks will run with cats. Well, yeah, like the old Pepe Le Pew cartoons, right? Don Skin says, hello from South Mississippi. Happy to be here. Well, we're happy you're here too. Thanks for joining. Let's see. We got a couple people talking to each other. I tend to kind of skip over those, let you guys kind of chat. Let's see. Let's see where we at here. Teresa says, I'd love to screen in my deck, but the deck needs to be completely rebuilt from scratch. Might be a couple of years to do that. Yeah, that's a little bit of an effort to rescreen a deck for sure. Or rebuild a deck. That's a lot. And the price of materials right now is ridiculously high. So Don says, maybe dogs don't care that they are getting sprayed. It seems they all do. Yeah, I mean, they definitely don't like it when they get sprayed. If you've ever seen a dog get sprayed, they'll run around and drag their face on the ground and paw at their face and stuff. So, I mean, it definitely bothers them, but, only temporarily, and I guess not enough to deter them in the future. Desert Homestead says, last week you said you picked conservative on the commercials. I only saw Harris ads, LOL. Yeah, well, I don't pick the commercials. Yeah, I get what you're saying. Conservative. Okay, so yeah, whenever I do the monetization on a live broadcast, it asks me if I want to do a conservative, which is less commercials, less earning potentials, nothing to do with political affiliation, or balanced, or like, I don't know if it's moderate. There's another option. I always go for the conservative, like the least amount of commercials. Try not to interrupt you guys, but still monetize and get a little bit of monetization off of it. Let's see. Verna says Klondike Adventures. I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what a Klondike. We used to do Klondike and Boy Scouts every year. I don't know what you're bringing that up for exactly. Was that the commercial you saw? Maybe, I don't know. Teresa says, fun fact, I really like the smell of skunk. Smells like perfume. Interesting. That's not what I think it smells like, but to each their own, I suppose. Verna says we're under a wind advisory up in Ohio. Yeah, that's probably not due to the hurricane. Free Time says baking soda, hydrogen peroxide, dish soap will take out the skunk smell. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just a few showers will too. But yeah, it's not pleasant to deal with until you get it taken out. Don says carport on the back of our property is vacant, and I could put them under one roof. Well, that works out pretty well. Verna says, so will tomato juice. Yeah, it's not really the best thing for it, though. I actually bought skunk shampoo. I keep it on hand for the dog if he gets sprayed again. Don says, poof will remove skunk odor. It's edible, too. Oh, yeah, I haven't tried that stuff. I've seen the commercials. Teresa, now she wants a Klondike bar because of Verna. Rose says, trap the skunk, throw a sheet over it, and relocate. My stepmother did it all the time, and skunk never sprayed. Interesting. I don't know that I'm going to try it, though. Maybe. Oh, I'd rather find a way to just deter them. Like, I don't know, spray bleach everywhere or something. I don't know what would deter a skunk, but we'll see. I just assume he just move on, be somebody else's problem. Go live in the woods, somewhere. There's woods not too far away. Homestead Matters says, happy Friday Eve all. Hope everyone is doing well. Love and prayers for those experiencing Helene. Is it Helene? Is that the name of that hurricane? I don't know what hurricane it is, but anyway. Don says, Rose, so when the skunk is wrapped up, it won't spray, maybe because it would spray itself too? I don't know. Yeah, so Swanson says if it's wrapped up, it's got nothing to aim at. That could be. Verna says it was a commercial I had just watched before I typed it. Ah, okay, gotcha. Rose says, I guess they don't spray, or if they don't see you, they don't spray. And Don says, yes, Steve, I guess you're right. Yeah, probably. 340 Quail Farm says, had a fox visit twice last week. He only got a few toes from the elevated cages. Have you ever dealt with foxes? Any tips to deter? I've heard of predator urine, but I don't want to attract anything. I don't know that predator urine is going to attract much of anything, but you are in Florida, so who knows? Yeah, I've dealt with fox before, and it's the same kind of issue. He was coming up under my quail hutch and grabbing their feet and pulling their legs off. I had a couple of quail that just, he pulled their legs off through the bottom of the wire. I ended up stringing a string of electric wire around the bottom of the hutch there, and he hasn't been back since. But it's no longer up anymore. But somebody else made a comment that I was like, duh, why didn't I think of that? Put another layer of wire underneath your wire in your hutch, just, that far down, he can't get to them. That's all it would take. Just string up another string of wire, mesh, like hardware cloth or whatever underneath it. George says, let's see, Chris, have you ever had a baby quail chick drown from a water feeder? I see videos on this, but wonder if it's just over the top risk management. Yeah, basically, it's not so much that they drown. What usually happens, if they can get in the water, they get wet and then they get chilled and they can't warm up and they die from hypothermia, more or less. So people think, oh, they drowned, but that's usually not the case. I've lost chicks to getting in the water and getting wet. So as long as they can't get in it, that's all you have to. That's it. So what I use right now are, it's specifically a quail water. It screws onto a mason jar, but it's got a really narrow trout. They can just get their beaks in there to drink. They can't get in the water. Before I had a wider one that they could easily get in. I just throw marbles in it or rocks or whatever to kind of fill up the gap so they can't get in it, but they can still drink from it. S.O. Swanson says, Tim, double layer wire on the bottom, inches apart, can't reach through both. Yep, that was somebody gave me that suggestion. I didn't think of that myself. Felt kind of stupid that I didn't, but I never did. Verna says, George, if they use a regular chick water, it can cause them to drown. If you use a quail chick water, it won't happen. Yeah, and again, it's not usually drowning. It's just, they get wet, they can't get warm. Homestead Matters says, bee waters have been a game changer. I don't even know, is there I think I've seen those before. Let me see it real quick. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. But that makes specific, quail water. Let me see if I can find it. It may be in my Amazon shop. I'm not sure. Let me double check and see. Let's see real quick if it's in there. Yeah, I think, there it is right there. I'll get you guys a link for it in case you need it. Let's see, where's my links? Oh, that's not the one I wanted. That's not the link. Come on now. There we go. There we go. All right, I'm coming back here. There we go. There's the link to the quail water that I use. George says, okay, so pebbles in the water feeder it is. I've been doing that anyway. Yep, that works pretty well. Or like I said, just pick up one of those quail waters. I just posted a link to the one I use. You don't have to use anything in it. Makes it a lot easier. Jam and Mike says, LO skunks won't spray if they don't feel threatened. I've been less than a foot from them and stop and don't move, and we watch each other, and then they mosey on. Yeah, this one didn't spray either. He didn't even act like he was going to spray. He just eventually kind of went on his way. Square Body LT says, my grandfather always said that skunk fur was among the finest. Just the dispatching and skinning. Has the corgi next door been skunked? I don't think so. I don't think it ever has. I don't know, honestly. Homestead Matters says, Northwest Quail Farm has a 3-pack on Amazon of quail water bases in different colors. Really? I didn't know that. May have to go look that up later. Teresa says, I bought those and attached the regular mouth canning jars to them, and they don't work at all. More water will only come out if I tilt it. Really? I never had that issue. They always work pretty well for me. Sometimes it doesn't hold a lot of water, but the birds figure out pretty quick. The water comes out of that little hole in the side, and they'll peck right at that, and the water comes out. I've never had a problem. George Kaiser says, I use rabbit water feeders for my adult quail. As soon as one works it out, they all use it, and they're quite water efficient. So are you talking about like the bottle with the ball, like the ball on it that they peck at and it lets water out? I've never had one of those that didn't leak. Cindy says, those are the ones I use, work very well. Yeah, they work well for me. Yeah, a bottle with the ball. I've never had one of the, I switched from those for my rabbits years ago because they always leaked. Every single one of them I had leaked. Plus, you got to take the whole bottle, unscrew it, fill it up. It was such a pain. I eventually switched over to some that were like a nipple type, like they bite on to water. Now, wouldn't work for quail, but for the rabbits, and they just have a flip top. You can open it up and fill it from the outside. You don't have to take the bottle off and open the bottle up. And then I went to an automatic water feeder, and now I just use bowls of water. I just go out and pour water in a bowl every day. Sage Wolf says, Dale's Quails makes inserts for brooder waterers from TSC. They had some at QuailCon. Well, that's true. You're right. They did. Cindy says the old canning jars work best with those waterers. The older canning jars. Yeah, well, some of my canning jars are old. I'm not sure the ones I used with them were old, but I never had an issue. Dawn says, I use those bases in my brooders. Yeah, me too. Teresa says, Cindy, do you use them with the canning jars or the plastic bottles? Emma says, rabbit bottles work well with a budgie feeder underneath to catch the drips. Okay. Teresa says, I use Rent-A-Coop gravity fed waters. I got to look that one up. I'm not sure what Rent-A-Coop gravity fed water. Let's see what it looks like. Oh, so it's the little cup that fills up as they drink it. Makes sense. Buck Reynolds says, but don't miss. I don't know what that's in reference to. I'm sorry, Buck. I'm lost. Homestead Matters says, I find the glass mason jars can be tight on plastic water bases, and I have to almost unscrew the plastic piece a bit. Yeah, you are right about that. You don't want to put them on super tight. It's not it's just snug. That's it. And if you put them on too tight, that can be a problem, and that may be why people aren't getting water out of them, because if you put them on too tight, basically the jar is going to almost bottom out on the plastic and create a vacuum. Cindy says, I use the old blue ball canning jars, chipped up so they aren't worth anything. Yeah, that works. Whatever you got, right? Emma says, I had a few beaks get snapped with the bottles, though, as a note. Ooh, that sounds terrible. Teresa says, I don't put them on tight. .340 Quail Farm says, whenever I use canning jars, the water doesn't flow right. Yeah, I think a little bit. If there's no water at all, that's a problem for sure. But I've never had an issue with it. The birds, and this is another thing too. I think people kind of tend to worry too much about like birds not being able to figure it out. I see a lot of times online videos, people are talking like they get new chicks and they're like, I got to show them where the water is, show them where the food is. And they stick their beaks in the water and move them over to the food. And that's all the birds do. All they do is walk around looking for food and water. They will figure it out, where it is. They'll find it on their own. The same kind of thing. It doesn't take them very long to figure out. Even when I do have one that's like not putting out a lot of water, they know exactly where that hole is, where the water does come out, and they'll go right there and get water out of that. It doesn't take a whole lot, but I get it. If you're concerned about it or if you've had issues with it, I'm not telling you need to use it necessarily. Buck Reynolds says the first message didn't go through. Well, that helps because I was lost. Didn't know what you were talking about. S.O. Swanson says, I stopped using the glass bottle the time it got empty overnight and fell over and flattened a chick. Plastic doesn't hurt as much. Oh, I haven't had that issue before, but I could see. That makes sense. George says, genetics are funny. I have deep brown Copernicus line of quails that howl at the moon. Third generation now, and still the same problem. I kept one over winter, kept some males for spring, but culling the line. And then there's probably more to that, but don't know what that is. Teresa says, even if they worked, they get dirty too fast. They do get pretty dirty, but I'm only using them for a week, 2 weeks. And then they're going out usually to the outside hutches. So I don't really mind that much. It's not that big a deal. I got to get my brooder ready because I've got going to lockdown tomorrow on eggs, which I am filming. I'm filming the new incubator for you guys. So we'll hopefully get that video posted up early next week, maybe Monday if they all start hatching this weekend, but probably more like Tuesday or Wednesday. All right. No more chat coming in. Where are we on time? Well, 7:30. We got plenty of time left. Emma says, I recently, hang on, let me check something. Okay. So I recently, where we go? Oh, I have recently that you shouldn't eat the eggs from quail that have been fed dried mealworms. It's to do with the mealworm being fed on human waste that could contain parasites that make you sick. Really? I've heard that before. It just kind of came as a shock to me, actually. But I don't know. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but I don't really feed mealworms to my quail anyway, so I'm not really concerned. S.O. Swanson says, new incubator, which one? Well, it's not new necessarily. It's just one that I haven't shown yet. It's the Brencia Ovation 56 Advance, I think is the model. Exactly. It was actually gifted to me, so I didn't actually buy it, but I've used it a couple of times, and there's some things I like about it. And somebody, one time said, hey, I'd like to see a video on the new incubator, so that's what I'm doing. George says, some males are mental, some are more placid, some are howlers. It seems to pass down the generations. Yeah, I think there's a lot to do with, the behaviors of the adults being passed on. If you see like aggression, I think aggression is totally a genetic thing. Not totally, but largely a genetic thing. If you have aggressive birds and you breed them and, they end up having offspring, those offspring tend to be aggressive as well. Teresa says, oh no, Emma, I've been feeding them dried mealworms. Emma says you're also not allowed to sell eating eggs. Really? I got to look that up, really. Let's see what they got. Mealworms are a good source. Mealworms can improve egg quality, usually, and it's really limited conditions. I saw one cause delay of the nest failure, but feed mealworms can never more broods. Okay. I don't know, honestly. I'm not seeing anything that jumps out as like, don't eat them. So, there may be truth to it. I'm not saying there's not, but it may be also one of those things that's just, somebody's looking for clicks, so they post something. I don't know. Emma says you can feed live mealworms as they are bred in your country that don't practice such, but imported dried mealworms carry that risk. I'll have to look more into that and see. Don says, I fed mine dried mealworms a tiny bit when it got too cold for me to fiddle with them and freeze my fingers. Good to know. Emma says, I only heard about it this week too, so it's new news to me. Yeah, I heard something about that like quite a while back, so I don't know. It may be one of those things too where somebody just, mentioned it, or maybe it's a little, I don't know, honestly. I'll have to look into it and see. J2 Cowgirl says, FYI, in the state of Florida, you have to have a state class 3 license to sell quail now. Really? Like all quail or native quail? Don says, "Oh, mine were raised in the U.S. Your mealworms were, or your quail were? Well, both probably. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm curious on that one, J2 Cowgirl. If it's, look into it, and make sure does it apply to Coturnix quail? Now it's pretty common that if you look up like what you need to sell quail, they're going to talk about like here it'd be Bob White quail, which is our native quail, and yeah, you do have to have a license from the conservation department in order to sell those because they're a native bird that applies to all native wildlife. But Coturnix quail are not a native bird, not native to the United States, so that doesn't apply to them. Vernon says, Emma, if the mealworms are USA bred and made, then you don't have to worry about it. Emma says, they got my click. Haha. I don't know. Oh, you're talking about the news? Yeah, trying to get you to click on it and they got your click. Okay, I get it. S.O. Swanson said, they say lesser mealworms can carry, though mealworm farms don't typically feed human parts or waste. S.O. Swanson says, just get your mealworms from a reputable source or raise your own. J2 Cowgirl says, all to my knowledge in the state of Florida, huh? That's that'd be something for 340 Quail Farm. Is that 340 Quail Farm? 340 Quail Farm. I always forget the numbers. I can't remember what the numbers are, but 340 Quail Farm's in Florida as well. So, I mean, he might know a little bit about it too and can speak to it. Verna's got to run. Good to see you, Verna. Thanks for stopping by. There's Joe Sandy. Says hello to everybody. Emma says, let's see, in the UK from October 1st, every person that owns just even one quail, we need to be registered too. Before now, it was if you had over 50. Really? J2 Cowgirl says the local auction barn, or the local auction is enforcing it at their sale barn. Interesting. They may be misunderstood too. Let me see real quick. I'm kind of looking through some quick stuff. Yeah, I mean, I just see any person, you must have a license to operate a game farm from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission. It's $50 a year, but I don't know if that would apply to Coturnix or not. I'd have to look into it a little bit more to see if that actually applies to non-native birds. And then, maybe you just need to educate the auction place too. Homestead Matters says, planning next year's garden and looking for suggestions on veggies or greens for chickens and quail. Ready, go. Well, I don't know. I mean, chickens are pretty easy. They'll eat just about anything. But I'm not really sure on Coturnix quail. You don't want to overdo them on vegetables anyway. They're not really vegetarians. They're kind of an omnivore, but really kind of more on the side of like, they eat like seeds and lots of bugs. That's kind of their native, food. But so I'm not really sure what to tell you. I mean, you don't want to overload them. Now, chickens are a little bit different. Chickens can handle quite a bit of vegetable matter. They eat a lot of bugs and things too, but they're a little bit different on that. The only thing I can tell you, stay away from iceberg lettuce. That's not good for any animal. So you don't want to feed that. Let's see, what other veggies could you feed? Other than that, I mean, like I said, chickens will eat just about anything. Cucumbers. Cucumbers are one that comes to mind. As far as greens go, I'm not sure. We'll get some other people to jump in and give us some comments on that one. Kind of caught me off guard. Let's see. Is it Simon? I don't know what your name is exactly. It says, I built a quail hutch from your video. Thank you. Getting 4 quail eggs a day. Love your videos. Well, awesome. Glad to hear that. Thank you very much. S.O. Swanson said, Florida requires a permit if you raise more than 100 or sell any. The law includes non-native game birds. Interesting. Thanks for looking into that for us, because I was kind of curious. Now, it's only, I mean, the license is $50 a year, so it's not really that high. I don't know if there's certain other things that come with that, or if it's just a way for them to make money. I don't know. See, Joe Sandy says, for those of you who sell their eggs, how much do you get, and what sources do you use for the cartons? Well, I don't sell. I mean, I sell eggs occasionally locally, but around here they go a couple of dollars for a dozen. I mean, maybe you might get $5 out of a dozen of them, but that's kind of pushing it. And there's not really a huge market for it. Not lots of people. I mean, it's not consistent, so I don't really do it on a regular basis. I do have egg cartons that I got from, I think, Amazon. I've got a whole bunch of those, but I hardly ever use them. We'll see what other people talk about, though. Teresa says, quail like clover. Yeah, there's quite a few things that they will eat. Dawn says, selling eggs, your area will dictate what they want to spend. And says, S.O. Swanson can give you great advice. Probably. James says, do you have to have a license to raise bobwhites in Ohio? Probably. Pretty much any native bird anywhere in the country, you're going to need a license to raise them, to legally raise them. I mean, I think that's pretty much across the country. That may be, I don't know. I was going to say it may be a federal thing, but I don't know that it is, honestly. There's Federal Migratory Bird Act, which would protect pretty much any bird federally. So I don't know how that would apply to, you'd have to look into it and see. I know in Missouri, you have to have a license from the Conservation Department. It's not terribly expensive, but it is required in order to even just raise them. I mean, we're not talking about selling them, just to raise them. Just to be able to keep them in captivity, you have to have that. Joe Sandy says, thanks, Don. Look, nobody is selling them. Not around me anyway. Well, stick some up on Craigslist or something and see what you can get. S.O. Swanson says, the less competition, the better pricing you can get. Maybe. I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, that's probably true. But at the same time, competition, I mean, if you see people selling them, that means there's a market, and nobody's selling them may mean no market. But, all you can do is try. Stick some up for sale, do, $5 a dozen. And if they start selling like hotcakes, raise it to $6, and see what you can get away with. Emma Ball says, pumpkins for quail. Yeah, that would work. Cindy says chicken like zucchini. Yeah, chicken like pretty much everything. So I haven't seen too many chickens that are too picky. Dawn says, I bought all my egg cartons from Northwest Quail Farm on Etsy or eBay or their website. I recycle cartons 50 cents off for refills. James says it's $40 and a half. What is $40? What is that? What does that mean? I don't know what we're talking about. Emma says overgrown zucchini. I guess you're talking about what quail like. Yeah, that would work. Chester Aikman says, I have to go. See everyone later. Thanks, Chester, for joining us. You have a good evening. S.O. Swanson says, in Ohio for bobwhite, you will need to get a hold of ODNR. Is that Ohio Department of Natural Resources? Here it's through the Conservation Department. I think it's probably the same thing, right? Cindy Rapp says, I get my quail egg cartons from Amazon. I see, is it Temu? I never know how to pronounce that exactly. But anyway, you see that they sell them also. I get $2 a dozen. $2 a dozen on your quail eggs. That hardly makes it worth it, but I don't know. Maybe it does. Joe Sandy says, I'm assuming you can't sell on Facebook. I see people selling filled cartons. I guess that's a way to get around the rules. Yeah, I don't know what the rules are about selling like eggs and things. I know Facebook has rules against selling animals. So that's why you see all the posts where it's like up for discussion. They're not actually, they just post a picture up for discussion. These birds, these whatever, they're selling them. But that's kind of to get around the Facebook rules. I don't know what their rules are on eggs exactly. It seems like they don't allow that either, because it seems like I did post some for sale one time and it got removed. Dawn says, having no one around me, and the first customer was Asian. I never got past them. They searched me out and took all I could produce. Nice. Yeah, we have an Asian market here locally that I went to for the first time about a week ago, 2 weeks ago maybe, and they had quail eggs in there, and they had them both fresh quail eggs in the fridge section. They also had balut duck eggs in there, which I'm not going to eat. Don't even, if Verna was here, she'd try to talk me into it. I'm not doing it. But they also had canned quail eggs. I'd never seen canned quail eggs before. And I asked the guy at the counter if they sold a lot of those. I think he understood. I mean, he didn't speak English real well. He was Asian, Chinese, probably. I don't know. Nice guy. But I think he understood what I was saying. He said they don't sell a whole lot of fresh ones, but they sell the canned ones. The canned ones sell pretty good. So that may be something too. I don't know. But if you're going to sell canned eggs, there's a whole nother, bunch of hurdles you have to jump through to be able to be approved to do that. Don says you can't sell eggs really on Facebook, or you can PM for animals and eggs, just not sell outright. Don says, LOL, Chris, Verna, and Balut. Yeah, I know. She's tried to talk me into it multiple times. But there's no way. I'm not doing it. S.O. Swanson says, Balut, duck eggs, and quail are not the same. Duck is disgusting. Well, quail balut is disgusting. I mean, balut in general is disgusting. That's just my thoughts on it. Joe Sandy says, I only have 14 hens, but get 14 a day. I'm having a hard time using them all. Learned I do not like pickled eggs, though. I don't either. I thought I was the only one. Everybody always asks me for pickled egg recipes, and I'm like, I've tried to pickle them a few times, and I just don't like them. I've tried a couple of different recipes, and I don't think it's going to get any better. I mean, people are like, oh, you haven't have the right recipe yet. Maybe, but I just don't really care for them. Don says, Chris, were the canned eggs like we do pickled ones or not in the shell? I don't know if they were in the shell or not, but they're canned in water, so they're not pickled. Joe Sandy says, an all hard pass on balut. Yeah, I'm the same way. Cindy said, quail eggs make the cutest deviled eggs. Oh, I agree. Deviled quail eggs are fantastic. They're one of I love them. I mean, it's a little bit of work to peel that many eggs and make them, but they are really, I mean, it's just like, of course, chicken eggs are bite-sized, a pretty good size bite, but bite-sized deviled eggs to me too. But quail eggs, man, they're just perfect. You just pop the whole thing in your mouth. It's just great. Free Time says deviled quail eggs are good. I agree. And Emma says you can't beat a fresh, warm boiled egg. I do like boiled eggs. I like all kinds of different eggs, really. I like them boiled. I like them fried. Scrambled's not my favorite, but I like them scrambled just fine. I kind of like them fried is probably my favorite, honestly. Fried in bacon grease. Don says, I miss my quail eggs. Yeah, I'm overrun with them right now. I've got more than I can't keep up with them. But we're raw feeding our dog now, so he gets quite a few of them. Joe Sandy says, I boiled 250 eggs a few days ago. Yeah, that's a lot. Cindy says, we call them poppers. Well, that's a good name for them, I suppose. Don says, when I get the first knee replacement, they said that we have to eat protein and vitamin C. Focus has been on eggs once or twice a day now. Yeah, we go through phases where we eat a lot more eggs and then phases where we don't eat as many eggs. And it just varies from time to time. Homestead Matters says hard-boiled quail eggs are one of the few guaranteed wins with my toddler. The automatic peeler has been a lifesaver. I do not have an automatic peeler, so I have to peel them all by hand. But I don't know. Don says the hospital forced me to eat 3 times a day. Yeah, I've noticed that with it seems like I thought I was the only one that just didn't eat. Believe it or not, don't eat that much. I look like I eat a whole lot, but I don't. I usually only eat about once a day. And, like today, I was busy at work and I didn't have time to take lunch. I brought some summer sausage and a salad for lunch. And I ate a couple of pieces of the summer sausage, and that was it. And I was working. I didn't have time. So I was pretty busy. But yeah, eating 3 times a day. We used to do that in the Boy Scouts. We go on campouts and they breakfast, lunch, dinner. And I just can't eat that much. If I eat a breakfast, I usually don't eat lunch. If I eat lunch, I usually don't eat dinner, so. S.O. Swanson says, don't have kids help with peeling eggs. The eggs disappear quickly in their little fingers and mouths. Yeah, I bet. Don says, every morning the cook made me huge omelets that were loaded. I do like a good loaded omelet every once in a while. And quail eggs make surprisingly good omelets. Emma says, I have to get one of those peelers because I end up getting full before I have enough to save for the fridge. David says, Chris, you gotta get an automatic peeler. I should. Have they come down in price yet? Because that's the problem I always had with them. Let's see. Quail egg automatic. Quail egg peeler. There we go. Let's take a look and see what they're running. It's $80. That's not terrible. There's a $251. Good grief. You got to peel a lot of eggs to make that worth it. Oh, there's a $33 one on Amazon. That's probably not very good. I think it's probably manual. It looks like it's got a hand crank on it. That might work. I mean, I don't know. Dawn says, I better not be gaining weight. I won't know until I go in 2 weeks to get the second leg done. You know, having to eat so much, you're afraid you're going to gain weight from it. It's a possibility, I suppose. Homestead Matters says, Emma, I held off saying I do a good enough job. The first use made it worth it in time saving alone. We're talking about the egg turner, I think. Joe Sandy says, I have a manual one. Love it. Well, it's cheap enough. I mean, I could try it, I suppose. Desert Homestead says, I just checked my greenhouse and something ate 8 out of 10 of my tomato starts. So much for fall garden tomatoes. Yeah, that's not even a thing here. I mean, there's no way. Our frost usually comes by the end of October. Our average first frost is like October 15th. There's no way I'm growing tomatoes. I don't have a big greenhouse either, though. Dawn says, I think you can pick them up for less than $100 now. Yeah, to me, $100 is a lot to spend on an egg. I mean, a dedicated appliance that all it does is peel eggs. I don't know. S.O. Swanson says, best electric price is $79. It's well worth the price if you do lots of eggs. Well, like I said, we do at times. I don't know. Joe Sandy says it's much cheaper and works great. Yeah, that may be the way to go. I don't know. Emma says, I'd prefer manual than electric, so thank you for sharing. Yeah, I just did a Google search. I found there's a $31 one on Amazon for, it's $31.99. And then there's a whole bunch of videos. Of people using them, I guess. So I don't know. I guess I could get one and do a video on it, couldn't I? Let's see. Joe Sandy says it took me 10 minutes to peel 250 eggs. Well, that's pretty good. It would take me a lot longer than that to do it by hand. R. Farrell says, my hens just started laying. I'm getting at least 2 a night. Always find them in the evening and not in the morning. I think most of my birds do lay in the afternoons, evenings. I mean, if I go out there at night, I usually don't. But if I go out there at night, there's eggs usually. I usually just pick them up in the morning. Joe Sandy says, I'm glad I got the manual one. I think it's more flexible. That makes sense. Emma says, do a review, Chris, with a question mark. Yeah, well, if I got one, I definitely would. So who knows? We might do it. And then you retracted your comment. Oh, you probably heard me say it, so you retracted your comment. There's a delay between, like, whenever I say things and you guys hear it, I think, because a lot of times people will respond to what I said, like, just a couple of minutes ago, and I've already forgotten what I said because I'm on to another topic or something. But anyway, Dawn says, Feral mine was started laying around 6 p.m. through 10 p.m. It was crazy. S.O. Swanson says, I think most quail live in the evening. Yep, that's pretty much how mine do too. Emma says, I did, about the 10th time for me this evening, did hear what I said and then retracted your comment. That's what it was. You're lucky I kept up with it this time. I almost forgot what I was talking about again. Free Time says, can you use the automatic peeler on chicken eggs? I mean, I think they make one for chicken eggs. That one, I think, is specifically for quail eggs. It's pretty small, so I don't know how it would do on chicken eggs. Somebody might be able to speak to that. Desert Homestead says, first frost is Christmas, over 90 degrees, and tomato flowers struggle to pollinate. I start seeds in August for fall time. Yeah, if you've got all the way through December, then yeah, it's probably not a big deal. Joe Sandy says, I don't think so on the egg peeler working for chicken eggs. Dave Lister says, our 3 dogs know the sound of our automatic peeler counter trollers. Yeah, my dog, he's pretty well trained. So, if he comes in there and I'm cooking or something like that, hey, go on. And he goes on. He just leaves it. because he knows that if I drop something on the floor, it's going to be his anyway, and I'll call him in whenever I'm done and let him have it. But he's pretty good about he doesn't sit in there and pester me the whole time. S.O. Swanson says, I think the shells are too thick for chicken eggs in that peeler. Could be. I don't know. Joe Sandy says, I sadly had to put one of my 2 ducks to sleep this week. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. That is always unfortunate. But it's part of raising animals. I mean, you're gonna lose one every once in a while. It's just facts of life. How are we doing on time? Oh, we got 5 minutes left. 5 minutes, boy, time flies, doesn't it? We've been here a whole hour almost already. All right. Joe Sandy says, yes, but it was like a dog. Oh, so like it was a pet. I mean, you were really close to it. Yeah, I get it. And it's sad. I'm sorry. And you had to do that. It's never fun. Never something you look forward to. It is, but it is still, I mean, it's going to happen, Jacob says, I've just barely made it to say hi. Well, hello to you too. Thanks for stopping by. Joe Sandy says, need to find a new friend for the other duck. Yeah, check Craigslist. I mean, I see ducks for sale all the time on Craigslist. I've thought about getting ducks before, but I don't know. David Lister says, chicken eggs are too large for the quail egg peelers. Now, there you go. Oh, excuse me. Oh, pardon me. I told you I didn't sleep well. Emma says, I heard ducks are super messy. Yeah, ducks are messy. Kentucky Green Thumb says, I had a huge mallard duck, or have one. We had ducks when I was a kid. Just a couple. But anyway, Jacob says, I had a roo get the tar beat out of him the other day. He got a little aggressive with the ladies, and they reminded him that he's outnumbered. Yeah, probably serves him right. Joe Sandy says, not nearly as messy as everybody says. Yeah, that's good. I guess it's all in your perspective. True, it is all in your perspective. R. Farrell says, I put a few males in a quail tractor in the yard, and the second night, the raccoons tried getting them. Tried, but couldn't get to them, huh? Joe Sandy says, I have a small pond, so that helps. Yeah, that would. As long as they have access to a pond, that does help quite a bit. Emma says, thanks for your time, Chris. Have a good evening, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us. You have a good evening as well. Joe Sandy says, I wish we could post pictures here. Yeah, I do too. That would make it easier. I don't know of a way to do that, like another platform or anything that would allow us to do these live chats and post pictures. I could invest in a, like software that would allow us to get on video together and stuff like that. I haven't done that, but I could. Square Body LT says, have a friend with 2 ducks for free, but I don't know where you are at. Talking to Joe Sandy. Sage Wolf says, good night, everyone. Joe Sandy says, how's your wife, Chris? And that I think it's Sandy that's actually talking, says, I'm in Southeast Michigan. Yeah, my wife's doing fine. Thanks. Appreciate the concern. But she's doing real well. No issues right now. So that's all good. Mike says, I haven't made a live in months. We have an elderly neighbor that's not doing well. If anybody could keep them in your prayers. He's a Korean War vet. Big Mike and the family from Long Island, now in PA. Yeah, we'll definitely pray for him. That's not good. It's always sad whenever, you have elderly family or friends or family or neighbors even that start going downhill. So yeah, definitely pray for him. Hopefully he's a believer. It's the biggest thing we can pray for, but I'll definitely pray for him and his family. 340 Quail Farm says, thanks for the live, Chris. Good night, everyone. Yeah, good night to you too. Have a good evening. It is time to wrap this one up, so I think I will. Yeah, it's S.O. Swanson. Thank you for your time and knowledge, Chris, and appreciate the missus sharing you with us or giving an hour of peace. Yeah, it's probably a little bit of both, actually. All right, I'm going to wrap this one up. I should be on next week. I don't see any reason why I won't be. I do have a work trip coming up, third week of October. I don't remember exactly when. So that week I will not be able to do a live, but I'll let you guys know when that is. I'll be in Chicago that week. So if we have anybody in Chicago, I got to go to a convention for work, learn about the software we use at our, in our offices. But anyhow, if anybody's in Chicago area, I'll be there on Sunday. Is it the 12th? I think it's the 12th of October. So it's a couple of weeks away. Oh, just about 2 weeks. Sunday the 13th of October, I'll be there, and I won't be getting home till Thursday night. So if anybody's there in Chicago, wants to get together on Sunday, let me know. I'll have time. All right. You guys have a good evening. We'll see you guys next week, hopefully. And as always, God bless.